Well, thanks for joining the training. And if you have questions along the way, just feel free to stop me, but we'll go through everything about responding to employee reviews on sites like Glassdoor, Indeed, and those places.
Great, thank you.
So thanks for coming. Okay, so a little bit about me. I wrote this book, The Review Cycle. I have a lot of experience with reviews. I started in the consumer side and was managing like product reviews on Amazon, Overstock, Wayfair, all those different e-commerce sites. And what I realized was the strategies we were using to respond to customers and manage customer reviews also could be applied to responding to employee reviews and managing employee reviews on sites like Glassdoor. And using the strategies that we talked about, there's been a lot of good results, increasing star ratings, winning Best Place to Work awards, and essentially helping engineer better experiences for customers and employees. So that's a little bit about me. And then for today, what we're going to be going over, I'll talk a little bit about the impact of UGC. Reviews are a form of UGC, or user-generated content. And then we'll go through specific strategies that you can use for responding to reviews, and then we'll open it up for questions as well. So first, the power of UGC. 97% of consumers use online reviews, whether that's for deciding what to buy, what restaurant to stay at or to go to, or hotel to stay at, or what job to apply for. Now, the crazy thing is that 85% of consumers trust online reviews as much as a personal recommendation. So HubSpot, they did this study about the trustworthiness of different business professionals, and they found that doctors were the #1 most trusted business professional. 49% of consumers trust what their doctor tells them. And then second on the list was firefighters at 48%. As you go all the way down to the bottom of the list, you have salespeople and marketers at 3%. So if I was a salesperson and I was trying to convince you to buy this fridge or whatever it is, I would have a 3% influence on you when I'm sharing my own opinion. But if I change the focus of the conversation to the online community's opinion and say, this model is our #1 most rated model. It has 1,400 reviews and a 4.7 star rating. Here are the features that other people say they like about this fridge. Well, all of a sudden I have trust arbitrage. My influence on you goes up all the way up to this 85% threshold. Now, this is the very reason that Facebook ads convert at 4 times, they have 4 times the click-through rate at 50% the cost of acquisition. So I'm giving you this preface. I know this is the HR world where we focus on employees and the employee experience and company culture, but you need to understand this contextual background of how reviews impact our society and consumers in general, because we're all consumers. Now, how do reviews impact companies and employers specifically? Well, 92% of working Americans look at online reviews when they're deciding where to work. And our ratings, our company ratings on sites like Glassdoor and Indeed directly impact profitability. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. It's a perception shaper, right? We see ratings and star ratings on different profiles, and it impacts the way we think and feel about a company. But it has been statistically maps to like higher stock market valuations. And it also impacts hiring decisions as well. Like candidates are 6 times more likely to move for a job based on positive culture than even a $10,000 pay increase. And the way that they're judging the health of a culture is by ratings, online ratings with Glassdoor, Indeed, and the other profiles. So why is this? It comes down to this principle of perception is reality. This guy right here on the right, his name is Lee Atwater. He was the presidential campaign manager for George W. Bush Sr., and he changed the way that presidential campaigns were run in the US. Now, this isn't a statement about political policy, but more about consumer behaviors. Instead of taking the side on a social issue when they were building out their strategy of what social topic they would support or what side they would take on a social topic, they would first measure public perceptions. which side of an argument did people believe? For example, let's say it's military spending. Should we increase military spending? Well, even if the facts pointed to yes, we should, there's budget for it, there's need for it. If everyone believed that, or more people believed that they shouldn't, well, they would take that side because it was easier to win. Now, we need to recognize that online ratings and reviews are normalized in all of our decision making with so many different things that that single star rating number between 1 and 5 and the total number of reviews, those two data points, have an immense amount of influence on what we buy, where we go on vacation, what restaurants we go to, and what jobs we apply for. So taking a step back before we dive into specific strategy of responding to reviews, we need to recognize that our reputation plan for our employer is just a subset of a larger program or strategy for company culture. A company culture strategy, speaking big picture, is a codified method of maintaining behaviors and values within an organization. Think of it as a strategy for institutionalizing behaviors and shared values. Now, I'm trying to remember where the study was specifically, but one of my favorite books is called Work Inspired. It's by Aaron Ian, the CEO of Kronos, and he talks about this principle of institutionalized culture. And he goes through this concept of a community and an organic, a community of up to 150 people can maintain values and behaviors without written documents and programs and proactive initiatives to essentially magnify those efforts or scale those efforts. But once you start getting above a group of 150, those shared behaviors and values start to get eroded and altered. So if you can build a framework around company culture, you can actually scale a healthy culture where it's more consistent across a larger organization. That's company culture strategy. The reputation piece is about managing the perceptions of the company culture online, whether that's on Glassdoor, Indeed, all the review sites, LinkedIn, what people are sharing on other social platforms. All those things are connected to a reputation program. So we're drilling down to the reputation program in today's training. And this is the methodology that I've developed in my book, The Review Cycle. The outside circle, there are 4 phases of decision making. Like, think of this for the employer use case, it's shopping for a job. I'm a job seeker. I'm in number 1, consideration. I'm considering applying for a new job. And so I start browsing different jobs online. Now, I find a job that's of interest, and so I go to number 2, and I engage with OGC, or organizational generated content. And I look at the branded content on the company's profile or on their career page. This is the material that the company has produced themselves. And now my opinions are being formed around what the company is telling me. If that looks good, then I advance to engage with UGC, the user-generated content. I want to see if the online community also agrees with the things that the company is saying about themselves. Do other people validate that their pay and their benefits are good, that the culture is good? And if that checks out, then I'm going to go ahead and buy or go to that decision point and apply for the job. I'm going to put in that job application, and assuming that I get the job, I'm entering this post-decision phase, which for the employee use case, that's the entire employee life cycle represented in this stage right here. So that's one thing to understand, that that's kind of the pattern, but it's another thing to influence the behaviors for your good at each of those stages. And that's really where the power of this model, the review cycle, lies. This inside circle maps out the elements of owner influence that can be exerted on those consumer or job seeker behaviors. For example, with the post-decision phase, we're asking for employee reviews to feed Glassdoor, Indeed, Comparably, InHerSight with new reviews, new content. When that content is there and that feedback is there, we can respond to it to showcase a high level of care for our employees. And we can also harvest insights from that feedback that our employees are sharing so that we can reverse engineer better content on our career page and better programs and initiatives and experiences for our team members. And then the last thing, it's more of a top of funnel marketing function. We can market with reviews. We can find reviews that align with the things that we're good at, the positives that we learned from harvesting insights, and turn those into social media assets for LinkedIn or other marketing efforts, whether it's a career fair or putting it on your career page. You can use that content to help drive greater conversions or job applications. So today, there's a lot of things we can talk about, but in this 1 hour we have together, this is what we're going to be hyper focusing on, giving you very specific, actionable steps that you can take to improve your public review responses. Hey, Alicia, thanks for joining. We're just getting started into the review response section. And just a heads up, I'm recording the training for this segment as we go through the slides, and then I'll turn off the recording when we get to open Q&As. Okay, so what are the benefits of responding to employee reviews? You first need to understand, how is this worth my time? Why do I even care about posting public responses to our profiles on these sites? And there's three main reasons. One, we can increase trust among not just the job seekers that are looking at that page, but current employees that may be looking at that, investors, partners. You have to recognize there's a larger group of people that are looking at your profiles online. It also allows you to increase control of the narrative. If there are things that need to be corrected or misinformation in a review, you have the opportunity to act as a moderator of sorts and set the record straight. And you can also directly increase your star ratings. Now, this example in the screenshot is a customer review on Amazon. Amazon actually discontinued public review responses, but this was a screenshot I took a while ago. It illustrates the principle really well. So I'll go ahead and share this with you. So 1-star review does not work at all. Waste of money. Whatever that product was, they thought it was horrible. Sherry did. She thought it was horrible. So then the company's response right here, Sherry, we apologize that this particular item model didn't work for you. Can you tell us how it is being used? We're happy to help you. We can also assist you with a product return if you prefer. Email us at cs@linenspa.com. Thanks, Linenspa. And then another customer came on and they responded, the response to this review is what was helpful for me. The company seems very willing to back up their product, which gives me purchasing confidence. There have been multiple examples of this throughout the reviews. Now, on employer review sites, no one else can respond to a review. It's not like a thread on like a social media post. Typically, most employer sites allow for one response from the company, and that's it. So you're never going to see another job seeker come on and say something like this. But the principle of this feeling occurring in people looking at that review when you respond is still there. As you resolve issues, you can actually ask an employee to update their review as a full reflection of their entire experience with the company. And that can help actually earn a higher rating and in turn increasing your average star rate. So those are the benefits. Now let's talk about how. How do we respond to reviews and what's the best way to go about doing this? The first principle is, who's your target audience? So I'm going to ask this question openly to everyone. When you respond to a review, what do you think? Who are you writing that review response for?
The people that we want to apply to the company who will see our response.
Precisely. You hit it right on, Trevor. You are writing that response to the reviewer, whoever wrote that thing, but your target audience is everyone else. Now that's because that one individual that wrote the review, maybe they're upset, they had a negative experience. That experience, hopefully you can make it right, but there's so many more people looking at that conversation every day, and you want to influence those viewers for better. On Amazon, I've seen examples of a single product listing getting as many as 60,000 views a day. And on Glassdoor, I've seen reviews that are getting as many as 10,000 reviews per month. So you have to realize there's a very different scale of individuals in your target audience compared to that one person you're writing to. Now, this picture right here, it's just a story from the book where I talk about imagining that you're on stage of a talk show and you have your anonymous reviewer, Purple Fairy Fart. That's one of my favorite pen names I ever saw. It's just people share weird stuff and give themselves funny names, but essentially you're having this dialogue with this individual, but you care about the TV ratings of your show and everyone else that's watching. So now let's talk about which reviews do you respond to. Cornell University actually did a study about this as it pertained to TripAdvisor and the impact of responding to reviews at a certain frequency and how that impacted bookings or sales. And what they found as companies responded to more reviews, they actually could double their bookings more than times two if they were responding to about 40% of their reviews. As they responded to more reviews and they got up to 80%, they were back down to a revenue factor of 1, as if they should have done nothing. And if they responded to more than 80%, they were actually damaging their sales. Now, my personal opinion for why this is happening is online reviews are a sort of social media space. It's an online community forum, and we don't want to be the annoying helicopter parent at a teenage party. If we're involved in every single conversation, it starts to feel overbearing and honestly distracting. And so people don't like that. So you need to understand which reviews you should respond to strategically to maximize the perceived positive opinion that people are shaping about you. So in my book, I talk about this rule that I came up with called 3 Cupid. So you want to respond to all 3 stars or lower, all reviews that have questions or something that we can clarify or moderate, and then some positives dispersed throughout the reviews to also show that we care about the positive employee or the happy employees as well. That rule of thumb should get you in this healthy range of somewhere between maybe 30 and 40%. It can vary obviously based on the health of your product listing or your employer profile. Any questions up to this point? Just stop me if there are. Okay, we'll keep going. So the next tip is you want to customize every single response. One of the worst things you could do is use a copy and pasted template because it looks like you either don't care, you don't take time, maybe it's a bot that's responding. And so it does not showcase care when you're doing those things. A customized response to every review showcases individual care and helps other people that are reading those reviews and responses gain a more positive and favorable perception of how they could be treated if they were in that reviewer's shoes. Like, oh man, look, this person had a horrible experience at the company. The HR team is responding. They're really kind and caring. So yeah, I want to work there because if I have an issue, they're going to give me that same awesome treatment, and that makes me feel better. Another thing is you want to have consistent formatting, and this is especially important if you have a team of individuals that are responding to reviews. Because if you've got, team member 1 and team member 2, they've got a slightly different style. They're responding to reviews a little bit differently. Then they're introducing some variance in the formatting, which makes it feel less professional and less polished, and like there's less care being given to those responses. So everyone that's responding to reviews in behalf of an employer needs to follow at least some level of standardized structure. And it could be introducing the individual by their name, their title, their position, because a lot of the employer sites will list that information, like this person is in customer service or graphic design. You could say graphic design team member or something like that. You also want to have a standard beginning and ending, and then always reference that the individual take their questions off platform, either by email or something else. Yeah, Trevor, question?
Yeah, maybe this is a silly question, but have you ever come across someone using a pen name that is reasonably assumed to be like a offensive pen name or something, then like, maybe I shouldn't use that pen name in replying to this person?
Yeah, great question. I definitely have seen that. And yeah, that's a totally reasonable situation to not use the pen name. I think that's fine. So just skip it and go straight to the response.
Okay.
Nice. Good call. I like that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we'll keep going here. So now we're getting into the really fun strategy where you're starting to play a little bit of chess in your public responses. So this principle is called mirror messaging. It's a way that you can showcase good listening skills and validate what the reviewer has said. So I'll just go through this example. Review quote, "I hate this company. My manager is too uptight and the benefits are stingy compared to where I've worked before." So that's just a snippet out of a review. And here's how you could address that in a response. "We apologize. You feel your manager is too uptight. Although all managers participate in people leader trainings aligned with our company values, all of us are human. If you feel your manager is acting inappropriately in some way, make a confidential report to HR for investigation. Know that our benefits are benchmarked against other companies our size and in our industry to ensure fairness and care for our team members." So there are two methods of mirroring happening in this example. The first is an exact quote, the pink example. We mirrored this exact phrase, "manager is too uptight." And then another way that you can mirror is just referencing. So like I didn't mirror the full phrase here. "The benefits are stingy." We said "our benefits." So those are two different ways that you can mirror exact snippets from a review to showcase that you're listening, that you're attentive and validating what the reviewer is saying. The next pro tip is you want to use skimmable mini paragraphs. You need to think about the behaviors of your target audience and how they're quickly skimming through lots of messages or scrolling. On average, people will read 6 reviews before making a decision. And so you need to quickly get your point across. The first word in every sentence has a disproportionate amount of views. And the first sentence in every paragraph is the same. It also has disproportionate focus. So if you can make like purposely segment where you want attention to go, where you want the eyes of your reader to go based on how you're spacing things and separating topics, then you'll increase focus and communication of those things. So let's go through this example. This is from a service tech with 6 months tenure, 2 stars. "Although I've heard good things about this company, my experience was not great. The hiring process was too long and the pay is less than my last job. In the end, I like my team and what I'm doing now." So here's how you could respond to that. "We're so glad you enjoy your team and like your new position at company name. The service tech department is a fun group and provides critically important support to our customers. Looking back at our recruiting stats 6 months ago, because we saw that they've been here for 6 months, we were temporarily understaffed in the HR department. One of our team members was on leave. We apologize for the consequent slowness in the hiring process. We're back to operating at target speed with the average time to hire being 16 days. Although you mentioned pay is less than your last job, know that we offer bonuses and increases. Raises and incentives are available based on merit. Speak with your manager for details. We are here to support you. Contact the HR team at employee.experience@companyname.com whenever we can be of assistance to you. Cheers. Company name, employee experience team." So I highlighted these sentences yellow. If you were skimming this response and you only read the first sentence of each of these paragraphs, you would still get the gist of what was happening. Some people have in marketing, there's this concept of like high need for cognition shoppers and low need for cognition shoppers. The low cognition need shoppers are the ones that just buy things instantaneously. "Oh, it's available, it's there, great, I like it, add to cart." The high need for cognition people are the people who do an immense amount of research. They go do all these comparisons, they watch unboxing videos, they talk to other people before they buy something, right? So you're appealing to both of those types of people in your audience by having this first line give a very succinct response and then giving even more context of what's happening in the later part of each paragraph. Okay, the next pro tip, Trevor, you're in the high need end of that spectrum. I like it. I can relate to that. Okay, passive and active voice. This one's really fun. So we want to use passive voice to separate problems from us and the reviewer. We want to use active voice to connect ourselves to solutions. Okay, so here's just a series of how that can look. A bad example would be, you left work without approval and are now being fired. Congratulations, right? A little bit better statement would be, leaving work without approval caused you to lose your job. So it's, this part is passive, but this part is still a little bit attacking and aggressive. And then the best could be a more passive statement that also, this is like a journalistic tone, and it also leaves some room for possible interpretation. Unapproved absences during critical shifts can be cause for termination, right? We're giving some context, and we're not definitively say that they're losing their job either. We're just saying this can happen. So when we're talking about a solution, here's kind of the bad, better, best lineup. It's unlikely, but your absence might be an exception. Talk to your manager for assistance. So we're pushing any hope for a solution off to the employee to take care of themselves. A better approach would be, your absence may be approved as an exception. Submit a request to HR. So it's a little bit nicer, but still focusing on what they need to do. And then the best would be taking ownership of the solution and showing proactive measures being taken. We will submit an exception report to HR in your behalf. Can you tell me why you left? Right. So it's going through the actual issue. So this principle can be incorporated in your responses as you're replying to reviews. Okay, and then the last recommendation for just general tips is to make a playbook. As you're responding to your reviews, you want to document common themes that are coming up so that you can enhance the way you respond to the next review. If you see you're getting a lot of responses around pay, then make that a topic in your playbook and list information around pay, how your company structures pay, the cadence of raises, and all possible things that can help you better respond to reviews talking about that topic. You also can add templates to your playbook when you're responding to employees directly. If they're emailing you outside of the review platform, it's okay to use templates in that environment because employee A doesn't know what you said to employee B. And so templates can increase your efficiency and standardize the policy references and other things that you're making directly to employees. So that's a very good thing to use templates. You could say behind the curtain in a private setting. When you're on stage in a public response setting, it needs to be personalized and unique to each individual. Okay, so now we're going to go through a few specific tips for negative reviews. I really like the ones in this section, so this will be good. Okay, this is an enhanced form of mirror messaging. Selective inclusion of negative and positive words. So let's go through this example from someone in the designer department, 1 star. I had the most terrible experience with company name. I waited for my first raise for an absurd amount of time. It must have been delayed like 5 times. Sure, my boss is really nice and supportive, and the company gives back to the community, but no one should have to be told they're getting a raise, then have it delayed over and over. So company response. We're sorry, the experience you had with the timing of your raise didn't meet your expectations. We are glad to hear you like the company's charity efforts to do whatever they're doing in the community. It is also good to know your manager has been supportive and nice. One of our company values is add company value, and we strive to be caring in all ways. Your feedback about raise schedules has been noted and is appreciated. Such delays are not typical and certainly not what we aspire to. Do you have remaining questions about your compensation? We care about your experience and are happy to address any additional questions you may have. Email us at employee.experience@companyname.com. Thanks. company name, employee experience team. So in this example, we attempted to minimize the negative while mirroring the topics being shared. And then we also attempted to magnify the positive while we're mirroring those topics. So instead of saying, we're sorry you had the most terrible experience, we minimized it to, we're sorry the experience you had, right? And over here as well, when they're talking about absurd amount of time, delayed 5 times, we just said feedback about raised schedules and delays. Now, when they talked about their boss being nice and supportive, we mirrored that directly. And when they mentioned giving back to the community, we magnified that going a step further. And then we went on ahead to talk about what the charity effort is specifically. We also magnified the reference of nice and supportive by talking about how that aligns with our company values. Okay, the next one, this one's really simple, but essentially when you're mirroring statements, especially when they're not true or they're emotionally charged or embellished, focus on mirroring feelings, not facts. When a reviewer is claiming something, oftentimes, especially in employee reviews, it's more emotionally charged. So you want to focus on the feelings right here. So here's this example from customer service. Please avoid this company at all costs. Long hours and no thanks. Unprofessional treatment from management. No care for employees at all. Response, we are sorry you feel there is no care for employees. That's a lot different than saying, we're sorry, we don't care about our employees, right? Definitely comes across differently. And you never want to say that. You never want to be self-deprecating to your company. The customer service department operates on a 10-4 schedule. We do understand each 10-hour shift is longer than average. We switched to this schedule 8 months ago based on employee feedback. 76% of employees have reported higher satisfaction with work-life balance since the change, given it allows for 3 straight days off each week. Know that all managers participate in leadership trainings and, like all team members, strive to follow our company values. If you have concerns about any treatment you feel is not aligned with our values, contact HR for a confidential conversation or submit an anonymous report in the employee portal. So in this review, we did not list the email. We gave 2 other ways that this reviewer could contact us, and we're showcasing those methods of contact. We're saying that our HR team accepts confidential conversations and that we care about employee feedback so much that we have an anonymous reporting mechanism accessible in the employee portal. Both of those things are really good to showcase. This paragraph right here is addressing the long hours with a very employee first and true sharing of internal stats. Now, some of the internal stats that you may want to share, you need to check with maybe the leadership team to know if it's okay to share, but like the 76% of employees would have been from an employee survey, right? And sharing that just showcases even more that you listen to your employees and you care about their experience. Okay, this is the last one for negative reviews, so we're moving along in great time here. I did not add an employee example here. I wanted to share my original example that I experienced, and so I'll go ahead and tell you this story. I was once interviewing someone for a position on my team at a previous company where I managed and oversaw employee or review responses for products, the brands, employer, every component of reputation. And this individual that was interviewing, they said, oh yeah, I have a direct experience responding to reviews. I used to manage the reviews for a dentist office where I worked. I'm like, oh, cool. Well, tell me about it. Did you ever have a negative review that you had to respond to, and how'd it go? This person went on to tell me about a negative review of the dentist office where someone was in all caps, I hate this dentist office. They're so horrible. When I went and had my appointment, the dentist was rude and he was so mad that he threw something across the room. Wow, that's pretty intense. I wouldn't want to have that experience. How did you respond to that review? oh, we're so sorry for the experience. We're going to make this right. We're going to take care of you. We're going to give you free teeth whitenings, and we're going to make everything better. Right? If you were to read a response like that, what would you think? Did the dentist throw something across the room?
It makes it sound like, yes, he did. It's kind of an admission of guilt when you're apologizing for it.
Definitely. You hit it right on, Haley. If you're not addressing that issue, you're passively agreeing with it. And then other people that come on like, oh man, like that must have happened. Like that's horrible. I'm not going there. Right. So when we respond to reviews, we have an obligation to set the record straight and be that moderator and address those negative claims directly head on. We want to use passive voice and active voice appropriately, and we want to undermine anything that's not true. So in this example, we could say right here, after receiving this review, an investigation was made regarding the claim of something being thrown by Dr. Toothbird. I had to make that up. Several individuals who were present at the mentioned time of your appointment were interviewed, and we can now confirm that nothing was thrown across the room. With that said, we want to fully address any remaining concerns or questions you may have. Please email us at email, and we will be happy to find a resolution for you. Thanks. Happy Tooth Dentistry. So this point right here, we can now confirm that nothing was thrown across the room. Like that's the focal point where we're completely discrediting what's been said in a very journalistic tone. We're not attacking anyone. Imagine if we said, "You're lying. That's not true. Nothing was thrown. How could you say this? This is horrible." Think about your target audience. What perceptions are they going to form when they read that threaded conversation, right? They're going to say, whoa, holy cow, like if I have any concerns at all, like they're going to come after me. But if you're taking this, caring, more passive voice and you're just reporting on what happened and what didn't happen, then they're going to say, man, that person that wrote that review is crazy. Like they're straight up lying. And the company is holding it like they're being very cool about it, and they're taking care of the issue. That's going to actually increase purchase intent. So those negative reviews can actually help you get more people applying to your job, buying your product, visiting your business. Okay, now we're going to go through a couple techniques for responding to any questions that come up in reviews, or if it's a Q&A, for example. And these tips are really simple and straightforward. You want to actually answer the question. You don't want to leave anything unspoken. Even if it's a very difficult question, answer it head on. If they're talking about why the CEO retired prematurely, like you're going to have to find a way to address that head on. Or if they're talking about pay getting decreased or layoffs or whatever it is, you have to address that difficult topic. And then the next tip is just to answer the unasked question. Anticipate what other people in your target audience could be asking or requesting, and go ahead and address those things as well. So here's an example from a manager, less than 1 year. Love the pay to charity time off program. I get to volunteer in the community and get paid for it. I've only participated twice now and am unsure of other activities that qualify for CTO, but it's a cool program. And then here's a response. Thanks for joining our team and participating in the charity time off program. Company name, loves to give back, and we're always impressed by the enthusiasm of our team members in these efforts. By way of information, we have a list of 17 approved charities where team members can volunteer and receive normal pay. The CTO program allows for up to 4 paid volunteer hours per month. If you have an additional charity you'd like to submit for approval, contact HR. We're happy to receive your request. Thanks. Company name, employee experience team. So this response is showcasing the company taking the time to address the issue or the question and the topic fully and provide helpful information for anyone and everyone that could be intrigued about the CTO program and learning more about what it's all about. Okay, we're getting close here to the end, so let's give some tips for positive reviews. So you don't want to just say thank you, right? We talked about not copying and pasting responses. We want personalized responses to showcase that we're caring, we're listening, and we also want to be selective with which positives we respond to. Really, it's about picking more short but still specific reviews that we can mirror something in our response. But if you've got really detailed, like all-star reviews that are giving a more lengthy narrative of the positive experience they've had, let that review stand on its own and let other members of the community engage with that piece of content. Okay, and then I've got just a couple bonus tips specific to employee reviews. These tips are not really helpful in the consumer UPG or CPG space for selling products. They're hyper specific for employee reviews. So the first one is another form of mirror messaging. A lot of times I've seen employee reviews are more emotionally charged. They can be more lengthy. They can list an entire bulleted list of grievances. When you have a review like that, there's two general ways you can go about it. First is general acknowledgement, and that's essentially saying, thanks for sharing this whole list of things. We can't address all of them here publicly, but if you'd like to contact us privately via email, then we'll address all of your concerns in depth. So that's the first way. The second way to approach it is mirroring just the top grievances. So let's say they listed 7 grievances, and I've seen lists even longer than that. Then you want to say, like right here, I'll just read it. Thanks for taking the time to share your detailed feedback about working with us. Know that your opinion is valued and our HR team has taken note of the items you've shared. Although we can't sufficiently address all the points made here, we'd like to address the following. Complaint 1, so give a succinct label for the topic, and then give a tailored response to that topic. And then give another kind of subheader topic for the next topic they mentioned, and then another tailored response. And then you close it out with your standardized ending. We care about you and would love the opportunity to fully address all your concerns directly. Contact us here. Thanks. Company name, employee experience team. Okay, just 2 more tips here. Before you respond to complex or sensitive reviews that maybe they're talking about harassment, layoffs, bias in the hiring process, or anything that could be potentially like a legal case, you want to do a little bit of investigation before writing that response. You can use situational cues like the date, the title, the department, and the tenure of the person that wrote that review to try to understand who could have written it to get more context around the situation. Now, that's sensitive and should be confidential information that you use with discretion for the sole purpose of informing a more strategic response. Now, with that said, you need to never cross the line of anonymity. If you do this publicly and you say in your response, we know this is Jim. Why are you saying this? You're ridiculous. This is not true, blah, 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 blah. Well, you're showcasing a breach of confidentiality, both within your company and the review platform itself. You're also showcasing a public display of aggression. That's not good for your target audience. And it's a sure way to undermine trust of existing employees and essentially make them fearful. That is not promoting a psychological safe environment. Now, you never want to confront an employee directly in private about a review either. There are 2 outcomes of this. If you guess right and you say, okay, this employee wrote this review, and you address them or you confront them about it, you destroy confidentiality and erode trust. Even if it's something minor and you address it with the employee, you fix it, what are they going to go tell all their peers? That you're policing the employee or the reviews. And now you're not going to get people to share. You're going to have a harder time maintaining a healthy star rating because other people won't leave reviews. It's not a good thing. And then if you guess wrong and you go up to someone and you're like, did you write this negative review? This is ridiculous. I'm like, no, that wasn't me. It must have been someone else. You introduce a negative topic to that employee and you just sent a clear message that you're policing the reviews in an unhealthy way, and that erodes trust both in you as a manager and in the employer as well. So instead, use that information with discretion and allow it to inform a very caring conversation. So let's say you have a high degree of confidence that this employee wrote this horribly negative review. Hopefully, in an ideal setting where you're caring about your employees, you already have ongoing scheduled one-on-ones occurring. And in your next one-on-one that's already scheduled, you're going to ask some questions that may relate to topics shared in that review. Then if the employee shares things that are obviously kind of connecting the dots there, you can talk about those topics openly. Still, without ever mentioning the review. That is not the point. You should always respect the right that every employee has to share whatever they feel they need to in a review. But when it's addressed, then you can go through and work through that issue. In the public response to that review, there, you're taking that tone of anonymity that you don't know who it is, and you're asking that anonymous employee, which is the case to your showcased audience, your target audience, and if they'd like to contact you via email or the anonymous employee portal, they can contact you through that mechanism that they're initiating to address the issue. So that's how I go about balancing the potential breach of anonymity. And again, you'll never know absolute unless an employee tells you, but it's definitely a fine line to balance. All right, that's the end of the training. If you want a free copy of the book, it's just cover shipping. But thanks for being here. I'll go ahead and turn the recording off.